Hello and welcome to Kingston Now. I'm Jimmy Buff. This week we're going to bring you some excerpts from the third of 3 listening sessions Kingston Mayor-elect Shayne Gallo held prior to his swearing in this Sunday. The first 2 sessions were at Frank Guido's restaurant and the Everett Hodge Community Center, and the last session was held here at 721 Media Center, home of Kingston Now. The conversation began with an opening statement from Mayor-elect Gallo, and then the public was invited to ask questions or make statements with the focus on the needs of the city's business, real estate, and nonprofit sectors. The session was scheduled to run 90 minutes, and eventually it ran over 2 hours long, so we're not able to show you the entire event. However, you can view it by going to our Facebook page and clicking on the link posted there. Here's the opening statement from Shayne Gallo.
For 9 months during the campaign, I had a theme which I referred to as quality of life. And the message of that theme was very simple. What it is to address the quality of life concerns of people and businesses in Kingston first, to generate a climate where people will want to move into the community and do business, you see. And that message had different elements. It has public safety, it has code enforcement, it has holding accountable the social services infrastructure that's prevalent throughout Kingston that provides services to those in need. And the point is that before, in my opinion, we can, and listening to people during the campaign and at these listening sessions, there seems to be a consensus, we have to address those concerns to stimulate interest, okay, into Kingston. So I've spent 9 months talking about that, and the purpose of this session is to afford all of you the opportunity to raise your questions and to address what you perceive to be your concerns, okay, with respect to the quality of life in Kingston, but also, too, with regard to economic development, or for that matter, any issue that you may think, okay, affects any one of you. So with that as an introduction, I just want to make just 3 quick announcements that I'm very, very happy and excited about. The first is that we all have a holiday gift in that the Land Trust and the Trolley Museum have agreed, okay, to enter into a lease to provide the rail from the Trolley Museum on the waterfront to East Chester Street, okay, by the Rondout Savings Bank there, which is the first stage, okay, hopefully to get the entire rail trail going through Midtown, which I characterize as a vein in the Midtown artery. So I'm very excited about that because initially I was told that I would probably have to negotiate or mediate between the Trolley Museum and the Land Trust a resolution of that issue. So I'm very thankful, okay, to the Land Trust and the Trolley Museum, okay, for entering into that agreement. The other announcement that I like to make, is I'm very, very excited, is with respect to AVR, the project on the waterfront, which Mr. Perna, and there's a representative from his organization here this evening, he spent millions of dollars, I believe $8 or $9 million in an 8 or 9 year period to try to develop the old brickyard in that site into a project that probably has no other between Albany and Yonkers along the Hudson River. And in the since last Thursday and Friday and then Sunday, myself and Supervisor Jim Quigley negotiated a shared services agreement with respect to the Hudson Valley Landings Sewer District. It's an agreement between the town and the city to provide a sewer service for the residents of that project. And the council, as we speak this evening, is poised to adopt same, and it will be signed by the mayor, and we'll go forward, okay, with that effort. The next point I'd like to make this evening, which I'm also very excited about, is Colony Liquor, the Colony Liquor Project. What we've been doing there is that I've been in discussion with the principals and with contiguous property owners to the site, and we've already drafted the easements as well as we're addressing stormwater issues which are relevant to that project to happen, to facilitate that project. And finally, the county is working on the funding mechanisms with respect to making the project happen. Okay, the county IDA, UCDC, accordingly. Those 2 issues are very exciting because what that does is it sets the tone, okay, for the development that's been so sorely needed in Kingston to hopefully stimulate an expansion of our tax base, which everyone in this room would really like to see happen for obvious reason. And then just thirdly, as a point of information, I met with a prospective small business person last week who wants to put in a soda soda distribution in Midtown. And essentially, he makes a product that it's called Bronx Soda Pop. And they believe sell it locally at Adams currently. And his market is very hot in Manhattan, Long Island, certain parts of Westchester. And he wants to come upstate, okay, to open up his market for reason that he could do very well. He also imports Italian products and cheeses, olive oils, etc. And he's been over the years, okay, distributing some of those products to local restaurants. So we're in the process, he and I, of discussing whether or not we can cooperate and do business together. He already has a site picked out, needs just a small amount of capital, okay, to get that project going. It'd only be 10 to 12 jobs, but yet it's a very positive development, if you will, particularly where the site is that he's thinking it's over at the Always Moving site. For those of you who know, it's over off of Grand Street. So I just wanted to make everyone aware that those three items, okay, we're very excited about, just announce accordingly that they're working on them.
This is Kingston Now, and we will continue with coverage of the third and final listening session with Mayor-elect Shayne Gallo in a moment. Welcome back to Kingston Now. This week we're featuring excerpts from the recent listening session between incoming Kingston Mayor Shayne Gallo and the people of Kingston. To view the full 2 hours, go to the link on our Facebook page.
Probably the biggest problem is the lack of addressing the Homestead Non-Homestead Act. And a lot of people have raised that it's anti-business. And I know people have said, well, for commercial tax rates, businesses do not vote. But they do vote with their dollar, and they very easily leave a city or a building because of the tax rates are not fair. And essentially, you know, what is the, you've heard the problem so many times, what is the solution? Well, one solution is possibly creatively thinking about how to address this issue. What they do in California is when you buy a new home, you get that tax rate for the entire life of that home until it's resold. So maybe increase a residential tax rate when somebody buys a new property. They know what they're getting into. You're not losing a potential voter, and you're not upsetting constituents. And that's the other thing I wanted to address today is the way that solutions have been formed in the past. Obviously, they're not working. So if you can think a little differently about how to approach a problem, that is really the new way to solve these issues. Creative solutions. There is how can we get people to move to Kingston? And really, there is an exodus, or there's a lack of people moving here with businesses. They want to raise families. You're not getting those individuals moving into town. So they want to relocate to the Hudson Valley, and they're attracted to Kingston because of the low cost of living. But then they sort of get this initial sour taste in their mouth. I mean, we're not used. We accept it as sort of our existing environment, but for someone who sees it for the first time, they're affected a lot differently than us. We know there are quality people in Kingston. We can take a little less curb appeal.
First of all, with respect to the homestead, non-homestead, some of you, or all of you probably know that the council has already shifted again. Okay, I believe it was 10%. It does result in a reduction in the non-homestead tax rate. For some of you may know in the room that over the past several years it's been done incrementally. And the reason why it's been done incrementally is because in the past 4 years the market hasn't been too helpful. For instance, last year we had 110 homes in foreclosure. This year we have over 300 for sale. Last year out of 110 in foreclosure, we took in REM, because those poor individuals were unable to pay their taxes for 3 years. And during that 3 years, we have to make the county and the school district whole. You're talking just about $1 million a year for those who are unable to pay their taxes that we have to foot the bill, if you're part of the expression. So what you had is out of the 110 homes in foreclosure last year, we took 30 of them in REM. Now, many of those homes were people who had worked all their lives, maybe spent 50, 60 years in that home, and a number of them were seniors. And unfortunately, they couldn't keep up with the cost of their taxes for different reasons. And we ended up in REM taking those homes for the failure to pay those taxes. Now, keep that in mind. In January of this year, we're poised to take, I believe, it was initially 50-something, thank whatever. We're only going to end up probably taking around 30, which is still unacceptable. And many of them are commercial properties. And I know some of those commercial property owners, and they're trying to figure out any way they can to refinance. Many of them can't because they've already been doing that over the past several years. So what do I have? We've done it incrementally. And I agree with you, creative solutions, think out of the box. If there could be possibly a partial assessment.
You're watching Kingston Now. More with Mayor-elect Shayne Gallo in his listening session when we come back. This is Kingston Now, and this week we're taking a look at the last listening session between Kingston residents and incoming Mayor Shayne Gallo before he takes office on Sunday.
I'm concerned about the future of Kingston and the health of its citizens and quality of life and sustainable economic development. If the city at some point decides to accept wastewater from the industrial process of hydraulic fracturing for natural gas, and I know this has come up in conversation last night. I'm aware of the article that came out in the Freeman yesterday. As far as I understand, the city has not accepted will not accept the wastewater because it will be a code violation for the truck traffic, the high volume of trucks that would have to come through transporting this, as well as the wastewater treatment plant doesn't have the capacity at this time.
Correct.
Those could change, though. And I'm wondering, I know that Mayor Satil in the article had stated that if there was capacity, that he would leave it up to the professionals, the DEC, and all the state agencies that are experts in this area. And I just wanted to say that the DEC is not an unbiased expert. The Division of Mineral Resources is charged legally with developing gas and oil reserves while mitigating damages to the greatest extent possible. This doesn't mean that they won't allow damage to the environment. The charter states that their priority is to allow the development of gas and oil reserves and to try to do it safely. When there's a conflict, the first priority wins. An example of this is the Rondout treatment plant being included on the list for fracking toxic waste, although it is not designed to treat the biocides, heavy metals, corrosive salts, or radioactive elements that are present in vast amounts in fracking wastewater. There was an article in the New York Times almost a year ago that addressed this issue extensively, particularly focusing on the radioactive elements that are released through the process of high-volume slick-water horizontal hydrofracking. The article states it cannot adequately be removed from wastewater. The same article states that thousands of internal documents obtained by the Times and from the EPA, state regulators, and drillers show that the dangers to the environment and health are far greater than previously understood. Documents state that the wastewater contains radioactivity at levels higher than previously known and far higher than the level that federal regulators say is safe for treatment plants to handle. The Times also found never reported studies by the EPA and a confidential study by the drilling industry that all concluded that radioactivity in drilling waste cannot be fully diluted in rivers and other waterways. Sewage treatment plant operators say they are far less capable of removing radioactive contaminants than most other toxic substances. Most of these facilities cannot remove enough of the radioactive material to meet federal drinking water standards before discharging the wastewater into rivers. So I'm hearing all of these wonderful visions for the city of Kingston, and I just don't see how the acceptance, if at some point the city decides to accept the wastewater, how this can be compatible in any way with developing the tourism industry, economic development, and sustaining the health and well-being of its citizens.
You're correct. Yesterday there was the article in the Freeman where the position of the city is not to accept it for the reasons stated. We don't have the capacity, and also too would necessitate code amendment to provide access to the heavy trucks that would have to come in to bring in the materials for processing. As I explained last night to someone who questioned me about it, first of all, with regard to the zoning and the code, I can't see the council, okay, particularly probably with public input, okay, probably amending the code to afford access to those heavy vehicles. I'm going to be shocked. The other point too is you hit right on it, Lisa, is the capacity issue. We can't be in a position where we're going to accept an industrial waste process and in the same breath affect the capacity for us to accept discharge from economic development, i.e. included but not limited to AVR or to some of the other parts of the city where economic development hopefully will happen. So suffice to say, we don't have enough information to be able to substantiate accepting it at this point. I'm clearly not in favor of that for the reasons stated, okay, as to what it would do to our capacity of the system. Additionally, what it would do to our traffic pattern and what it would do to your homes when these vehicles, okay, drive past, and you'll discern and notice that you have cracks now all over in your foundation and everything else, not to mention what it will do to our infrastructure, the roads itself, where we're going to be on the dime to repair the damage caused by these heavy vehicles.
You're watching Kingston Now. To see the full 2-hour listening session with Mayor-elect Shayne Gallo, go to our Facebook page and click on the link there. Next, we'll wrap up with Shayne Gallo, who we spoke with after the session ended. Stay with us. The third and final listening session with incoming Kingston Mayor Shayne Gallo was attended by a full house here at 721 Media, and the topics raised by those in attendance reflected the passion of the residents and business people of Kingston. We had a chance after the event ended to ask Mr. Gallo about these listening sessions. Shayne, it was a wonderfully robust discussion. It must hearten you to see this many people come out on a weekday night to talk the way they did tonight.
I'm excited and I'm humbled. I'm looking forward to working with all the individuals you saw here tonight representing business, the real estate community, not-for-profit, citizens. Last night it was at the Hodge Center. We had seniors, volunteer groups, along with the clergy. At our first session last month, we had, Jimmy, as you know, the small businesses throughout Kingston, along with landlords and some other citizen groups. So, as you stated, I feel heartened, I feel excited, and I'm looking forward to continue the dialogue. As I stated this evening, we're going to have these meetings every quarter at different locations throughout the city to continue to foster this dialogue, okay, and the partnership that's necessary for everyone to have an interest in Kingston's future, in the solutions to deal with the problems that aren't insurmountable, not with the help of the people who you saw here this evening.
The range of subjects brought up tonight, your acumen in fielding those, does anyone ever catch you off guard with one of these things where you go, you know what, that's a great idea, I'm going to do that? Yes,
there were a couple moments this evening and last night that were very positive, and I like to have my recollection refreshed because I'm fortunate enough to have been around in city government for several years to be able to identify what these issues are and how we can actually try to address these issues. But I don't know everything. And that's why these listening sessions, and then in the future, next year and throughout the administration, these town hall meetings are necessary and imperative to continue that dialogue and exchange, and to help me at times refresh my recollection to be able to do the right thing for the city of Kingston, residents and business.
This coming Sunday is the swearing in. What are your feelings about that?
Looking forward to it. And again, looking forward to seeing a really diverse section of Kingston who will be in attendance. And it's going to be somewhat sentimental. My father was president of the city council in the 70s. Actually, the mid to late 60s, he was an alder person council. He was also president of city council under Ray Garrigan and then Frank Koenig, both mayors in the city. And that's why it's going to be sentimental, because he presided in that chamber over the council. And then there's my brother. My little brother, TR, who was instrumental in
renovating City Hall and the beautiful chambers where I'm going to be sworn in as the next mayor of Kingston. So that's both sentimental and humble and bittersweet. And I know that my family, my father and my brother, are going to be looking and smiling at us, okay, as the day proceeds on that day.
And of course, Mom's going to be super proud.
Wow, did I really forget? Thank you for refreshing my recollection. Without my mother, obviously, I wouldn't be here. Without my mother also, politically, she was my #1 campaigner, out there canvassing and banging on doors for support for her older son. And she's excited. I think she's looking forward also to contributing to the community. She's had a lot of years' experience doing that. And I love her. And again, as I stated, I couldn't do it without her. And I'm looking forward to stating that publicly at the swearing-in ceremony.
Terrific. Well, we're looking forward to the next 4 years.
And I appreciate that, and thank you for the opportunity to express my views and also to exchange ideas with the public. And I'm glad that this is a venue for that. And as I stated earlier, this building is imperative. The Ellenbogans have done a remarkable job establishing a presence here to revitalize Midtown, and it's imperative we do everything we can to ensure that they're fully occupied with their tenants and clients, and that anything else that needs to be done to promote Midtown with the digital corridor, I think the Ellenbogans are going to be right there to that end.
Great. We're going to be checking back with you. Okay?
Pleasure. Thank you
Great.
very much.
You. That's it for this week's show. Once again, to see the full 2-hour listening session, go to our Facebook page. For Kingston Now, I'm Jimmy Buff. See you next time.